Happy Thursday, friends. It is November 20th, 2025. Apparently also Use Less Stuff Day and National Absurdity Day, which feels very on brand for an episode where the headline is a Google model called Nano Banana Pro.
Yeah, like the universe is self-aware at this point. Also, quick note, this whole episode is generated end-to-end with Microsoft Vibe Voice 7B, so if we sound a little too smooth or we glitch mid-sentence, that's why. We're basically stress testing the model live.
I'm Hunter.
I'm Riley, and this is CoeCast, where we talk about AI and automation for the people actually trying to ship campaigns, not just ship press releases.
All right, main story. Nano Banana Pro is live. New Google image workhorse, associated with the Gemini 3 Pro image stack. Price-wise, it's their mid-shelf tequila. More expensive than pure Gemini 2.5 flash image for a 1024 by 1024 shot, but positioned as a cheaper, more scalable option than using Gemini 3 Pro image for everything.
And we've got two other bananas in the bowl, Gemini 3 Pro Image Preview and Gemini 2.5 Flash Image. So you've basically got Flash Image as the scrappy cheap model, Nano Banana Pro as the mid-tier workhorse, Gemini 3 Pro Image as the hero shot, don't blow this model.
Let's hit the first big question, ChatGPT. Prompt patterns. Google's Nano Banana Pro tips plus what we wrote on the blog basically say, stop vibes prompting and start schema prompting.
Yeah, the pattern is subject, context, style, constraints, usage. So instead of cool cyberpunk ad, it's more like photorealistic image of a 30-year-old woman using a laptop at a kitchen table, warm morning light, cinematic photo, 16:9, left side clean for headline text, high contrast, brand palette, teal and charcoal, no extra logos, only one laptop.
Exactly. And you treat that like data. Your LLM fills a JSON schema, your automation stitches it into a prompt string, and that's how you get consistency across 1,000 variants.
I'd go one step further. For brand alignment at scale, you want style tokens up front, flat vector illustration, minimal, bold outlines right at the start, constraints inline, white background, centered product, no text in top third, negative prompts as QA, no extra bottles, no second person, no text except label.
And camera language as layout control. Overhead flat lay, medium shot, subject-centered, close-up on hands with blurred background. That stuff survives across models, which matters when you're routing between Nano Banana Pro and other vendors.
Also, log your prompts like code. Version them. If nb.pro v7 has a 78% first-pass approval rate, you keep that and retire v3 that kept putting text on top of logos.
All right, model choice. Question 2. How do marketers pick between Nano Banana Pro, Gemini 3 Pro Image Preview, and 2.5 Flash Image for big campaigns?
Okay, quick cheat sheet. Gemini 2.5 Flash Image, Nano Banana Classic. Up to 1024 by 1290 tokens at that resolution, around 4 cents per image at current Google pricing. Use it for thumbnails, rough concepts, storyboards, anything you're going to trash a lot. Nano Banana Pro. Higher quality images than Flash Image, with support for larger, more detailed outputs than 1024 by 1024 depending on how your provider exposes it. Roughly in the low thousands of tokens per image at higher resolutions, mid-price depending on provider. Better text, better composition than Flash, still cheap enough for variant factories. Gemini 3 Pro Image Preview. Multiple quality tiers. The higher tiers consume more tokens than the basic 1120 token high setting in the docs, and providers are starting to expose 4K class output paths on top. Typically costs noticeably more per image than Nano Banana Pro, often in the 2x or more range depending on where you buy it. Incredible quality, but preview rate limits and more expensive.
So decision rule from a workflow angle. If it's social feed clutter or testing hooks, hit 2.5 Flash. If it's performance creatives you'll actually ship at volume, default to Nano Banana Pro. If it's hero homepage art or a press campaign that'll live for months, pay for Gemini 3 Pro Image.
I'm going to disagree slightly. If you're a small brand with one big Black Friday campaign, I'd just live in Nano Banana Pro and only call Gemini 3 Pro for like 5 truly critical assets. The context understanding in Nano Banana Pro is already good enough that you're not embarrassed on a 1080p hero.
Totally fair. That's actually what we called out in the blog. Treat Nano Banana Pro as your default mid-tier and abstract it as image-mid-tier in your code, not hardwiring the brand name.
Yeah, make your stack model agnostic. Because next quarter there's going to be another acronym that does the same thing with slightly different token math.
Speaking of math, question 3. Budgeting and batching, given token gaps like 1100 versus a couple thousand tokens per image as you crank resolution and quality.
This is where AI FinOps gets real. You don't budget images, you budget cost per approved asset. That means estimate tokens per image for each model and resolution, multiply by token price, then divide by your first pass success rate.
For example, say Nano Banana Pro costs roughly half what Gemini 3 Pro does for a given resolution, but gives you a 75% first pass approval rate. Gemini 3 Pro gives you 90% first pass but maybe 2 to 3x the unit cost. For low-stakes variants, Nano Banana Pro wins. For high-stakes hero art, the extra approvals might actually make Gemini 3 cheaper once you factor human time.
Also batch smart. Generate in progressive passes. First pass, all base images with the cheap model and lower res. Critic pass, automatic checks, OCR legibility, brand color delta, aspect ratio. Second pass, regenerate only the failures at higher quality or with the expensive model.
And cap your budget in code, something like max cost per image 40 cents, frontier calls per asset 1, retry limit 1. If an image is still bad after that, escalate to a human or a designer, don't let the agent just spin.
Yeah, otherwise you wake up to, why is our Google bill the size of a down payment?
Question 4. Transparency and alpha. Still not natively supported as a simple, give me a PNG with alpha flag in most of these text-to-image endpoints. What's the play to get clean cutouts?
End-to-end pattern I'm seeing work. 1. Prompt for a solid, clean background, pure white or bright green, no shadows, even lighting. 2. Generate your subject with Nano Banana Pro or Flash. 3. Run an automatic segmentation pass, self-hosted SAM3 for masks, or a dedicated background removal API. 4. Export PNG with alpha and push to your DAM.
And you wire that into a pipeline. Image out to segmentation endpoint QA critic that checks edges, haloing, and hair details. If the mask fails some basic thresholds, auto-regenerate with slightly tighter framing or different contrast.
Yeah, just don't pretend you'll get production-grade overlays from pure prompting right now. You're still going to want that specialist step, especially for e-commerce.
Question 5. Used to improve our products, yes, no. This is the Google toggle where your content might be used to train or tune the models. How do teams make that call?
My spicy take. If you're a solo creator making memes and B-roll, flip yes and move on with your life. If you're an agency with client IP or unlaunched products, you set it to no by default and only opt in for generic assets.
I'd add, think in tiers. Public, non-sensitive stuff like vector cats and sunsets, fine to share. Proprietary brand systems, unreleased packaging, confidential shoots, lock it down. And check your contracts. A lot of big brands now explicitly forbid vendors from using their assets for model improvement.
Also, with the Trump administration lining up lawsuits against states trying to regulate AI, I'd expect the legal climate around data and training to swing back and forth for a while. So just assume, if it's sensitive, don't let it into any vendor's training pool until your lawyers are cool with it.
Good segue into the rest of the news. We've got the Trump administration aiming to centralize AI regulation at the federal level, Nvidia dropping another monster earnings quarter that says, nope, this isn't a bubble yet, and Musk plus Nvidia announcing a roughly 500 megawatt scale AI project in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that Saudi supercomputer thing is wild, on the order of half a gigawatt just to feed robots and chatbots. The pitch is AI will eliminate poverty, which, okay, we'll see. But for our world, it just means the compute arms race is still very much on. More capacity, more models, more pressure to actually make this stuff pay for itself.
Nvidia's earnings help a bit with the are we in an AI bubble anxiety, but they also say if you're building production workflows on image gen, don't bank on prices staying static forever. Model routing and budget caps are your friends.
And that federal versus state fight on AI rules is exactly why provenance and internal governance matter. If DC says we're in charge, cool, but platforms are still tightening their own rules, and your brand still gets dragged if you mess up.
Back to creative quality, question 6. What monitoring, A/B testing, ROI metrics matter when you swap models or change prompts?
I like 4 buckets. 1. First pass approval rate. How many images pass all checks on the first try? 2. Time to usable asset, from prompt to approved in DAM. 3. Cost per approved asset, tokens plus human review time. 4. Business outcome, click-through rate, add to cart, whatever matters for that asset.
And log model and prompt IDs per asset. That way you can A/B Nano Banana Pro versus Gemini 3 Pro on the same template and see, did Pro actually move the metric or did we just feel better about it?
Also watch drift. If first pass success on Nano Banana Pro quietly goes from 80% to 60% after an update, your automation needs alarms. That's where model routers plus basic dashboards earn their keep.
Question 7. Automation patterns that reduce cost but preserve fidelity. Prompt templating, caching, progressive batching, upscaling.
My go-to pattern, prompt templates with slots. Subject, mood, layout, color palette. Generate low-res with the cheap model flash image for all variants. Run critic checks for composition and brand rules. Only upscale the winners with Nano Banana Pro or Gemini 3 Pro image.
And cache everything you can. If the background is static, pop, brand gradient, a standard set render it once, store it in your DAM, and just composite products on top with a segmentation model. No reason to pay for the same sky 300 times.
Also, progressive batching. Don't fire 10,000 calls in one burst. Use queues, do 500 at a time, and monitor spend. If the critic sees a systemic error like text is illegible on dark backgrounds, you pause the batch, tweak the template, then resume.
Question 8. Contract, licensing, attribution language with vendors.
You want a few key lines. Customer owns all rights, title, and interest in the outputs, to the maximum extent allowed by law, explicit commercial usage rights, globally, across channels, clear stance on training. Provider will not use customer inputs or outputs to train or fine-tune models without written consent, indemnity around IP claims where possible.
And confirm watermark policy. With Google, SynthID is embedded by default for a lot of image outputs. That's good for provenance, but your contract should say whether that's mandatory, how it's disclosed, and whether platforms can detect it.
Plus, ask for a model list in the contract addendum. We may use AI is too fuzzy. You want to know which vendor, which model class, what regions, and what the data retention policy is.
Question 9. Common failure modes in image workflows and guardrails.
The big ones: weird composition, chopped limbs, missing objects. Object duplication, 3 bottles when you asked for one. Garbled text on labels and banners. Brand color drift and wrong logos. People showing up where they shouldn't. Guardrails that help. Negative prompts, only one product, no extra items, no people. Critics. OCR to check text, color check against your hex palette, logo detector, basic NSFW checks. Fallback. If critics fail twice, route to the expensive model or a human editor.
And for brand consistency, keep a library of reference images and pass them as conditioning where the API supports it. If Nano Banana Pro can take an input image plus a prompt, that's how you keep mascots and product angles consistent across variants.
Yeah, and track per SKU metrics. SKU 123 has a 50% failure rate is a prompt design issue, not a model problem.
Last big one, question 10. Change management when moving from experiments to production.
I'd say there are 4 pieces. 1. Skills. Train creatives on writing structured briefs, not just mood boards. Train ops folks on routers, budgets, and QA tools. 2. Tooling. Standardize on a DAM, a router, and a couple of image models. No more random freelancer using whatever site they saw on TikTok. 3. Governance. Policy as code, claims rules, locale rules, watermark and data sharing settings. Risk tiers, alt text auto-publish. Medical claims always go through legal. 4. KPIs, first pass validity. Time to asset. Cost per compliant asset. Complaint or rollback rate after launch.
And communicate that this is human plus machine, not firing designers. Machines do the grind revising, background swaps, text and image variants. Humans do taste and final call.
Also, honestly, have some fun with it. Run a National Absurdity Day internal bake-off where half the studio uses Nano Banana Pro pipelines and half does it manually, then compare time and quality. That's how you make the change feel like a game, not a threat.
On brand with today, for sure.
All right, we're gonna wrap. If you want deeper dives on Nano Banana Pro, AI FinOps, and how to wire critics and routers, hit Koei.com to the dossier. We've got breakdowns on all of this, plus the other Gemini 3 updates.
And subscribe to KoeiCast wherever you're listening so you don't miss the next round of AI chaos. Maybe celebrate Use Less Stuff Day by, I don't know, using fewer manual Photoshop layers?
Yes, automate the layers, keep the creativity. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Catch you next time.